For more on the efforts to curb hunger and food shortages, I spoke to Kostas Stamoulis from the UN Food and Agriculture Organization. I asked him why this issue is so significant.
For the world as a whole, hunger is not just a moral imperative or the elimination of hunger. It's also an economic drag. Imagine all these people that are underfed, that are wrongly fed, which compromises their health, their productivity, how much more productive they could be for themselves, their families, and the whole society if they were to be better fed.
There are countries that have excess of food, or I should say surplus of food, that are cheap and available. And then there are countries that sort of on the other side of the distribution chain who have a hard time getting the food and distributing it to the people who actually need it. And those are the ones that I think have a deficit. What is the crux of the issue? Is the problem with private companies? Is the problem at the government level of the people who need the food, or is the problem at the government level of the people who have the food?
Let's look at the issue in a little more detail. You can find a combination of food waste and, on one hand, or too much food, overnutrition on one hand, and undernutrition and scarce access to food in the same country, in the same region, sometimes in the same community. The problem of hunger in this world, of food insecurity, whichever you want to call it, is a matter of access. That is, people that are hungry do not have the means to buy the food or to produce it. That's at the end of the day, that's the bottom line. It's not necessarily the distribution chain as such, the distribution of food, is the issue of distribution of resources between nations and primarily among people in the same country. So that's what we are observing. Countries that have an excess of food sometimes export it, but countries that have a scarcity of food, they may not be able to import it because of poverty.
Okay, so
this is the problem.
That is a very interesting point you bring up, that oftentimes we think it's country A to country B, when a lot of times within just one country, or as you say, in the same community, there could be a very different outcome. Give us a couple examples, name countries, name communities, give us examples of things that work.
You can name any country in the world that has a problem of undernourishment or a problem of hunger, and you will find that are communities that have very little to eat, or households within a community that don't have access to enough food, the resources to buy it or to produce it. And then in the next community, you have people that have plenty of resources and they're well off. This is a chance of life. Just name a country and you will find that phenomenon. Yes.
I remember when we used to talk about China many years ago, there was a lot of talk on how big the population is and what a challenge it is to feed the entire country of over 1 billion people, and that would be a major issue. Fast forward to today, China has made acquisitions to food resources around the world. I won't name all the details, but the point being is that China has to go outside the country to ensure that there's enough food for everybody, at least at home. And I'm wondering, in your opinion, is this the right strategy to employ, or is it the only strategy to employ if you don't have enough food at home?
Absolutely. I think international trade offers opportunities for countries that don't have enough food to acquire it in the world market, or countries that for which food is very expensive to produce, to go out and buy it at lower prices than it will cost to produce it at home. I think China paid a lot of attention to the food issue in China and promoted agriculture through reforms, policies, subsidies, investments, public investments, social protection, that actually agriculture grew at a very high pace, and labor productivity increased about 3 times.
Yeah.
So there is, one of course, relies in the international market, but also exploits opportunities to increase productivity of the food system, whether primary agriculture or the rest of the food system at home.